everyone, welcome back to my YouTube. It's me, Emxx. So today I'm in my kitchen. Today I'm going to bake an apple crumble. I know it's not art, but according here to Google, my good old friend, it says that technically baking is an art and a science, so it's still an art video. So let's get started. For this you will need 5 apples, 1 cup of self-raising flour, half a cup of raw sugar, 4 tablespoons of butter, a large pot, and a 7 by 11 inch non-stick pan. Okay, so first things first, you want a clean bench, which I've cleaned, and you want to wash your hands. So I should probably wash my hands. I washed my hands and got a chopping board. So if you need to know how to learn to cut or know how to cut things. If you don't, like me, then that's all good. To cut, we will need a very sharp knife. Here I'm using this very sharp knife, as you can see. Be careful because knives are sharp. So first thing you want to do is have the apples. I personally use Pink Ladies because they are really sweet. I do like red apples. If you use green apples, that's okay too. But I just prefer to use Pink Lady apples, but you can use any apple for an apple crumble, but this is what I prefer. So I've got 5 fairly decent size, like really big apples of Pink Ladies. So we're going to grab those. So you'll also need like a fairly decent size pot, any type, just to throw the apples in. So I'll show you how to cut them. Alright, so what you want to do is obviously peel the sticker. Give yourself a nice little sticker. Okay, so then we kind of just cut straight down the guts. I cut then this half into halves. I don't know fractions. My husband's the king of fractions. But you just cut that in half. And then when you have another half, you cut that in half. And then you cut that in half. So basically you just keep cutting in half until it's not too thick or thin. And I like to, you also got to cut like these bits out, which is, you got to be really careful not to cut your fingers, obviously. But then I sort of just cut these guys in half. And then maybe like even, well, I actually cut them into 3. So you got like 3, I don't know, kind of like that. They're not too thick, but they're not too thin. You want something decent. And then you just chuck them into the pot. And then you just do that again. So you just kind of, it feels like this takes forever, this process. So yeah, basically, if you feel it's a bit thick and you want to make it a little thinner, just keep cutting it in half until you've got some fairly decent size pieces to throw into the pot. So it goes half, so half, then you cut those in halves, and then you cut into, I don't know, it's just a lot of halves, all right? So basically you just keep cutting until you get nice little slivers. You know how I showed you. Just keep, so it looks like that. If it looks like that, you know you're doing it right. If not, we'll just keep cutting in half. I've been making this apple crumble since I was like 8 or something. I don't know, I was little. I was a little kid. I wanted to impress my family. Apart from baking cakes and brownies, I wanted to do something different. So I made the apple crumble and haven't looked back. See what I mean? I have no idea how the hell to cut. So we just do that. I'm sure if Gordon Ramsay watches this video, he would be probably hitting me. But if he could taste it at the end, he'll know I've done good. He'll probably say there's like too much sugar or something, but I think he would be okay. Maybe impressed? Well, he should be. I'm a huge fan. Okay, so I made a mistake because I'm not thinking. I peel the apples before cutting. So if you're following me like a cooking video and you're following like the steps, then I do apologize. But basically you just need to cut the skin off because, I don't know, I found a lot of people find it's kind of chewy and then you kind of choke on it. You don't want to choke and die from eating dessert. So unless that's your preferred way to die. So just like peel the apples if you haven't just cut all of them up. Otherwise, my best tip for you is to get all the apples out and throw them everywhere. Good thing we got a clean bench. So just cut like really, really thin. Doesn't matter if it's perfect or if you've left the tiniest bit. And then if you have just not peeled them, I'll put a reminder so it's a bit earlier into the video, so you don't make the mistake like I do. But yeah, basically you just peel them. I found it's easier, you don't choke. If you want to leave the skin on there, that's fine, you can do that too. I've done that in the past. Doesn't really make much of a difference, apart from some people that have not a lot of teeth or not great dental health find it a bit difficult to chew and can choke. But otherwise, just peel the apples. So after cutting all the skins off the apples I recut, I then peeled the apples and cut the leftover apples up. So I used all 5 apples, and this is me cutting super fast because I already showed you the process. Then you want to turn the heat on your stove to like a medium, I think. I have no idea how to even do this. I just usually guess it. But then you want to take your pot of apples and just start filling the pot with just normal tap water. You just want to fill it up so that the apples are completely submerged and there's like heaps of room. Basically, you want to boil the apples so they're really, really soft. Then I sprinkle a heap of raw sugar over the apples and let them sort of boil while they cook in the sugar to make it sweet. Now you want to have super clean hands for this part because it will get very messy. So if you have long nails, make sure you are clean underneath your nails. Take jewelry off because it's going to be about to get real. So what you're going to do is put your 1 cup of self-raising flour in. I have a 1/4 cup here, so I got to put 4 in to make the 1 cup. And then you want to put 1/2 cup of raw sugar as well. So I'm just going to do 2 of those. So now it's time to put the 4 tablespoons of butter in. So I'm just literally scooping some chunks of butter out, which is very pleasant. So sometimes it'll get stuck and you want to scrape it off. So, but yeah, I don't do it flush. I mean, you can, and yours will probably come out perfect straight away. Well, as mine, I'm just sort of going with it. So I may need to add more flour and sugar. So now for the fun bit. You have to start mixing it with your hand. So I just start by squeezing the butter and sort of just mixing it in with the flour and the sugar. And you just keep doing that until it gets less sticky and it's not getting stuck to your hand anymore. So yeah, as you can see, my hand's getting really stuck with butter and flour, and it does feel really weird. It takes a while to get used to that feeling, but just keep mixing. Don't give up. It will come together, I promise. So the butter will eventually get stuck to the self-raising flour and the sugar. So you just keep on mixing, as you can see I'm doing, and then you'll see it turns into crumbles. So if it turns into like a thick, kind of heavy weighted crumble and it breaks nicely in your hands, you know you've got it right. I also had to keep adding some flour and some sugar to get mine right because I didn't do the butter correct. I sort of just did a heap. So if you did a flush level of butter on the teaspoon, you should use the correct measurements of the flour and sugar and yours should come together nicely. But if you're like me and you just did massive chunks of butter, just add little bits of flour and sugar and just keep mixing till it gets that crumbly consistent like I have here. I also usually get my husband to taste test it before, so I know it's definitely right, and he likes it. As you can tell, he kept wanting more. So you'll see his hand come back in a second. There it is. And then I go away, it's for the crumble. And then he tries stealing more. Ugh. Okay, so now that your crumble's already done, we got to focus on these apples. So they've been cooking the whole time while I made the crumble. Usually I put it on a higher heat, so they should be soft by the time I finish my crumble. But in this case, they were still hard. So I need to cook these a little bit longer. So what you want is them to not be tough like this one. You want them really floppy and really soft. So I'm going to give this a little bit longer to cook. While I kept doing that, my husband kept stealing more crumble. Seriously, stay away. So after a little bit longer, the apples are smelling really good. And I'm just trying to get a little piece of apple here so I can test it. So it seems really soft, and it's nice. So I'm gonna taste test it. Don't burn yourself when doing this because it can be really hot, obviously. But the apple tasted really good and it felt nice and soft and squishy, so it shouldn't feel hard anywhere. And it tasted good. So these apples were ready to be drained. So now you just turn the oven off for starters because you don't want to, leave the oven on. And then we drain the water. So I just drain it. You drain all the water out. Sometimes the apples want to slip, so you just get like a utensil to help keep the apples in there. And that always does the trick. So once you do that, just take the pot over to your bench. Make sure you have a nice mat to put down so you're not burning your bench. So this is how the apple should look. I'll show you. If it's nice and floppy like that, you know it's good. So all the apples are really soft and nice, and I always add sugar to it because usually the water, when it boils, gets the flavor of the apple out. So when it boils in the sugar, it puts it back in. So now it's time to put these apples into our non-stick tray. So for this part, you just get like a spoon or something, and I literally just chuck the apples in. I don't, I used to mess around and making them lined up really nice. Then once you're done putting all the apples into the tray, just put the crumble that we made and just literally sprinkle it all on top. You kind of don't want any gaps or anything, just pack it on there. Now you just want to preheat the oven to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Mine is a fan force oven as well. Then once it's preheated, grab your trays of your delicious apple crumble and pop it into the oven for 20 minutes. With my one, I did end up baking it for another 10 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius if you want to do that as well. But you want to cook it until it's a nice golden brown. So now that it's a nice golden brown and it's all done, pop it on the bench to just cool down at room temperature, then serve it up with either ice cream or custard, or how I like it, with nothing. So this is how it turned out. It was absolutely delicious. Everyone that came over for dinner absolutely enjoyed it. So if you want to make an apple crumble, here's my kind of family recipe, as you will. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. I'll see you next week. Bye guys.